What's up guys, welcome to another First Shots video. Today we're going to be shooting my brand new Genesis Arms Gen-12 10.5 inch 12 gauge firearm. Guys, if you enjoy the content that I'm making, then please make sure to like and subscribe and leave me a message down in the comments section. I hate asking, but it really does help the algorithm a lot, so I'd really appreciate it. And if you ring the bell icon, you should get notifications when new videos are released as well. Additionally, if you want to get more Chester's Hobbies content, you can follow me on Instagram where you can see what I'm working on and get previews of upcoming videos. And I'm also pretty active on Reddit if you'd like to follow along with the conversations there. Alright, well that's enough of that, so back to the gun of the day, my Genesis Arms Gen-12. Guys, in my opinion, this is one of the most exciting new firearms designs of the past few years. The Gen-12 from Genesis Arms is a 12 gauge firearm that is essentially a 12 gauge upper receiver built to run on a DPMS Gen-1 style AR-10 lower. They also make proprietary box style magazines that feed into the lower receiver just like an AR-10 magazine would. The lower receiver is beefed up with some stronger parts like springs and catches to increase the reliability of the 12 gauge platform, but everything about the lower receiver is completely compatible with DPMS Gen-1 upper receivers that could be chambered in 308, 7.62x51, 6.5 Creedmoor, and more. But what really sets the Gen-12 apart from other mag-fed semi-automatic shotguns is the way that it cycles rounds. Instead of using a traditional gas system like a Saiga 12 or an Origin 12, for example, the Gen-12 actually uses a short recoil operation that is fully self-regulating. This means that instead of a tunable and finicky gas system like most magazine-fed semi-automatic shotguns use, the short recoil system uses the force from the round being fired to reciprocate the barrel into the bolt carrier, which creates the short recoil cycling action. The amount of force needed to cycle the bolt is automatically regulated by the round being fired, so no tuning is necessary, unless you plan on shooting really hot rounds, in which case you could run a heavier buffer in the buffer tube or even a hydraulic buffer, for example. Now, Genesis Arms wasn't necessarily the first to create a short recoil 12 gauge upper receiver, but they were the first to crack the code on how to feed it with a box magazine. These are extremely well designed magazines, and what's really interesting about them is that the feed ram for the shells is actually built into the magazine instead of the upper receiver. This was apparently one of the biggest breakthroughs in the design that is largely responsible for the reliability of the platform. Currently, they offer 5 and 10 round magazines, and they're researching larger capacity options for the future as well. Now, the science of the Gen-12 is all very interesting and a little bit mysterious, but from a practical standpoint, there are 3 primary things that attracted me to the Gen-12. The AR style manual of arms is nearly perfect in my opinion. It's marketed as being far more reliable than other magazine-fed 12-gauge platforms like the Origin and the Saiga 12, and perhaps most exciting, they claim that it can cycle 12-gauge shotgun shells as slow as 1,145 feet per second, which means lower recoil, being faster back on target, and lower cost per round than more powerful ammunition. Something even more impressive about this design is that the reliability and cycling of low brass is apparently not at all affected by the barrel length in the Gen-12, which is a huge difference over traditional gas systems that typically need more powerful ammunition the shorter the barrel gets in order to cycle. Now, they offer barrels as short as 7 inch that cycle just as reliably, which is crazy and pretty exciting, honestly, but what I decided to go with was the 10.5 inch suppressor breacher model, or SBM. This is a newer variant from Genesis Arms that disconnects the muzzle device from the reciprocating barrel, which allows you to swap out the muzzle device and, most importantly, attach a suppressor without the need for a booster. I'm super excited about that, honestly, and if the gun runs well for me today, I definitely think that I'll be ordering the Rex Silentium Seg 12 suppressor that works with the Gen-12s. Now, much like the Komrad 12 from KUSA, this model is technically classified as a firearm because it has a barrel shorter than 18 inches, but the overall length is longer than 26 inches. And because of that, based on current US law, it's allowed to have a vertical grip, but not a stock, so these are sold with a pistol brace. Now, with that being said, if this gun is everything that people say it is, I'll most likely be filing a Form 1 to SBR or SBS it as well. Now, if you've been following along with my quest for a reliable magazine-fed shotgun this year, then you'll know that it's been a pretty rocky journey so far. My Fostech Origin 12 ran very poorly for me in my first shots video, to the point where I barely made it through more than a couple of magazines without a failure. I sent it in for warranty repair and it came back with a brand new barrel, but it still had cycling issues for me, so I threw in the towel and sold it. Then I tried the Komrad 12 from KUSA, which actually ran quite a bit better for me, but still had significant cycling issues even with a low brass reliability kit. Neither the Origin nor the Komrad could cycle low brass reliably either, which my Benelli M4 does, and I have a lot of low brass on hand from shooting traps, so that was pretty disappointing. Now, I did receive comments from several people that watched those videos that said they have Origins and Komrads that run great for them, and I'm sure that's the case. Many of them said that they needed between 300 and 750 rounds to break those guns in, but for me personally, I really don't shoot shotguns all that much, and that's just a time and money commitment that I'm not interested in making for a gun that I'm not in love with. But with that being said, this Gen-12 has some incredible potential, and I'm really excited to see how it performs today. I've seen some very impressive videos out there, and I'm really crossing my fingers that it runs just as well for me as it does for others. So let's talk a little bit more about the features of the Gen-12, and then we'll go over the testing that we're going to do today and then hit the range. So again, this is a DPMS Gen-1 patterned AR-10 style lower receiver, so the controls will be very familiar to anyone that has decent experience on the AR platform. It has a Hogue rubber grip, which isn't usually my style, but I actually find it really comfortable on this gun, so I'm going to run it for a while and see what I think. The safety lever is a standard mil-spec style safety, so I'll most likely be changing that out for an ambidextrous safety at some point. The magazine release button is standard mil-spec, but seems to work fine, and the magazine catch parts have been beefed up for the 12-gauge platform. For a bolt release, they shipped the Gen-12 with a Battle Arms Development enhanced bolt catch and release lever, which is really nice. I actually like it a lot. I would love to get some sort of ambidextrous style bad lever like a Phase 5 EBR on this gun, like I have on my Battle Arms Development SBR, but I want to talk to Genesis Arms first to see if they have any experience or suggestions on that before I commit to it. Now, the best feature of the lower receiver, in my opinion, is this Hyperfire trigger, which is a really popular single-stage trigger that I've never really tried before, but I can see why people love it. It's got a really light and crisp break with a short and tactile reset, and it really feels excellent. The magwell is beveled and flared, and magazine insertion is extremely smooth, just like an AR-10 or AR-15. This is a huge improvement improvement in my opinion over the Origin 12 and Komrad 12 that have really finicky magazine loads in my experience. Now on the back of the lower receiver is a BCM QDM plate, which is excellent and works perfectly with my Savvy Sniper sling. Then we have a standard mil-spec buffer tube with a standard spring and carbine buffer and an SBA 3 pistol brace. Now as for the upper receiver, there's some really cool stuff going on here as well. Instead of a traditional AR style charging handle, Genesis Arms opted for an AK style side charging handle, which I absolutely love. It allows you to charge the gun with a reach around just like an AK, but it also has last round bolt hold open and an AR style bolt release lever, so it's pretty much the best of both worlds. The handguard is a fairly wide but very ergonomic and comfortable M-LOK rail. I've heard that accessories have a tendency to not stay on this rail very well as a result of the 12 gauge recoil, so I'll be really curious to see how well my BCM vertical grip fares today. And lastly, at the end of the handguard is a blast diverting compensator that's supposed to help with recoil and also divert some blast away from the shooter, which is nice because 12 gauge shells fired out of a 10.5 inch barrel should be pretty loud. Now what's really interesting about the suppressor breacher model is that the muzzle device is actually attached to the handguard and not the barrel, which means the muzzle device doesn't reciprocate with the barrel under fire like the original version did, and this is what allows the SBM version to be suppressed without the need of a booster device. Now aside from the BCM grip, the Gen 12 actually doesn't come with sights, so the only other thing that I've added to this gun is an EOTech EXPS2-0 holographic circle dot sight. Now this configuration is not super lightweight, but it's also not overly heavy either. It's about 8.5 pounds with a 5-round magazine, which is almost the exact same weight as my Komrad 12 with no optic, and nearly 2 pounds lighter than the Origin 12 that I filmed a video with previously. Now for testing today, I've got a variety of ammo that we're going to run to see what it likes and doesn't like. Got some of that bio ammo number 8 and number 9 birdshot, both of which are rated at 1312 feet per second and really struggled to run in my Origin 12 and perform just okay in my Komrad 12. Then I've got some Lambro Guard double-op buckshot rated at 1325 feet per second, some Federal low recoil 1-ounce slugs rated at 1300 feet per second, and then because the Gen 12 will supposedly cycle low brass without any issues, I'm going to put that to the test today with 3 different flavors of low brass birdshot. I'll start with some Winchester Super Target heavy target loads, which are number 8 birdshot rated at 1200 feet per second. These barely even move the bolt on the Komrad and Origin, so if they run well today, I'll be pretty excited. Then we're really going to shoot for the stars with these last two, some Federal Top Gun number 8 birdshot and Winchester Super Target extra light target loads, which are also number 8 birdshot, both of which are rated at only 1180 feet per second. These are really light recoiling rounds that I primarily use for trap shooting, but if they run reliably like they do in my Benelli M4, then I'll be absolutely ecstatic. Lastly, I'm also going to take a couple shots with the Komrad 12 and Benelli M4 today to see how their recoil impulses compare to the Gen 12 as well. So that's what we got going on today, guys. It's an unseasonably warm day in November here, and I'm really excited to try out this Gen 12, so let's hit the range and see if it's really everything that people have been saying it is. All right, so we're going to start off with number 8 bio ammo going 1312 feet per second. The Origin and the Komrad struggled quite a bit with this stuff. Let's see how the Gen 12 does. Seemed to like it just fine. All right, now we got bio ammo number 9 birdshot, again 1312 feet per second. Again, the Origin and the Komrad did a little bit better with this, but still struggled a bit. All right, so far so good. All right, guys, we're getting to the good stuff here. We got some Winchester Super Target heavy target loads. These are only 1200 feet per second. These would not even move the bolt in the Origin or the Komrad. Let's see if the Gen 12 is everything they say that it is. Woo! All right, okay. That's pretty impressive. We locked back and everything. Let's see what else it can do. All right, guys, it did great with the Winchester heavy loads. Let's go for the gold here. These are Winchester Super Target extra light loads, 1180 feet per second. These are my trap loads. The only gun this has really cycled in so far for semi-autos for me is my Benelli M4 and my Mossberg 930. Let's see how the Gen 12 does. Oh! Didn't lock open on the last round, but it cycled beautifully and felt awesome. This is exciting, guys. Let's see what else we can do. All right, now we got some Federal Top Gun. It's basically the exact same specs as the Winchester Super Light that we just did, 1180 feet per second. Let's see how it does. All right, locked open, running great. All right, move back a little bit further from the steel. Let's try that Lambro Guard double-op buckshot. See how that does. Guys, I might be in love. This thing is awesome. All right, guys, I got 4 of the Federal Premium Low Recoil Tactical 1-ounce slugs. These are going 1300 feet per second. Let's see if I can figure out where to hold with these. Well, they cycle, but I still got to figure out where to hold. So guys, I want to do a little bit of a comparison between the recoil impulse of the Gen 12 versus the Komrad 12 and the Benelli M4. I've got this bio ammo number 9 birdshot going about 1312 feet per second. This is the hardest hitting round that I have today and the one that's most likely to run in all 3 platforms. So let's start off here with the Komrad 12. Okay, see how this one goes. Okay, pretty stout, but not too bad overall. Okay, and then let's try the Benelli M4, which is to date one of the lightest recoiling shotguns that I've ever fired. It's pretty legendary with its self-regulating gas system. So let's see how this one goes. You know, honestly, I think the Komrad had slightly less recoil than the Benelli. It's a little bit heavier, so that might have had something to do with it. And then let's see how the Gen-12 does. Wow. You know, honestly, the Gen-12 was definitely the fastest back on target. I think the felt recoil was pretty similar to the Komrad, but the Gen-12 can run ammo way lighter than the Komrad can, which is inherently going to give the Gen-12 much less recoil than the Komrad overall if you plan on running light loads. Speaking of light loads, let's try some of this Federal Ammunition Top Gun number 8 birdshot going about 1180 feet per second. This will not run in the Komrad, so we're just going to try it in the Benelli M4 and then in the Gen-12, and we'll see how those feel. All right, that felt awesome. I love shooting light loads out of a shotgun like this. I love shooting fast, as you guys know, so that felt great. Being able to cycle light loads for just fun at the range on the cheap is awesome. All right, so now let's see how the Gen-12 does with the same Top Gun 1180 foot per second ammo. Honestly, guys, I do think that has less recoil than the Benelli, just a little bit. It's definitely a little bit faster back on target for me, and obviously having the EOTech on there is a ton of fun as well. I'm just psyched about this thing, guys. This is awesome. All right, guys, the last test I want to do is I want to see how double-aught buckshot with the Lambro double-aught buck patterns at about 25 yards out of the Benelli M4 with an 18.5-inch barrel versus the Gen-12 with a 10.5-inch barrel. So we're going to fire one round at each of the targets here. We've got the Benelli M4 is going to go at the short target in the middle, and then the Gen-12 is going to go at the target on the right, and then we'll see what the patterns look like. Okay. And the Gen-12. All right. Gen-12 with the 10.5-inch barrel is definitely wider. Let's go take a look. All right, so you have the two targets here. Here on the left, we have the Benelli M4. It's a little bit high, but you can see it's a much tighter group. Here's my man-sized hand here. I would say it's about a 8-inch group roughly, but the majority of it is about 4 or 5 inches in the middle here, a little bit more than a fist. It's a really good group. The 10.5-inch, it's a pretty big group here. It looks like all were on target, but it is a much larger group with a 10.5-inch barrel than you get with an 18-inch barrel. So something to keep in mind if this is a gun that you were considering for self-defense. But I think that's enough testing, guys. Let's just have some fun with this gun. I'm absolutely in love with it so far. Let's see what we can do. All right, guys, I gotta be real with you here. This first range day with the Gen 12 is easily the most fun I've ever had shooting a shotgun. I am not even close to kidding, guys. And that's because it had excellent reliability, low recoil, quick magazine changes, and super fast follow-up shots, guys. This gun is phenomenal. I am honestly blown away. I have to admit, I honestly walked into this range day with a little bit of skepticism because I really felt burned by the Origin 12 after seeing so many videos of it running well, and then it just ran so poorly for me. So in the back of my mind, I was honestly a little bit worried that all the Gen 12 videos I had seen of it running well were maybe somehow cherry-picked or tuned differently, or that I would just end up with a lemon and it wouldn't run as well as the ones I had seen. But guys, I am thrilled to say that I ran about 175 rounds through the gun today with almost zero failures. I am blown away by that result, guys. This thing is incredible. Now, I say almost no failures because I did have a couple of failures to extract with the bioammo number 8, which also actually had a failure to extract in my Benelli M4 today. So I think that maybe that ammo just isn't so hot. But with everything else that I shot today, I had 100% reliability with just one exception, and that's when I was hip firing with the very low powered 1180 feet per second Federal Top Gun birdshot. And the reason for that is really just that the short recoil mechanism of the Gen 12 really needs a solid platform when shooting. So if it's firmly placed in your shoulder, no problems at all, it runs beautifully. But if you're hip firing and the stock or the brace doesn't have something solid up against it, you might not produce enough resistance for it to fully cycle. But not a huge deal. I honestly almost never hip fire. I was just trying to have a little bit of fun. And honestly, guys, I am just so excited right now because probably about 120 or so of the rounds that I shot through the Gen 12 today were low brass birdshot between 1180 and 1200 feet per second. And I had zero failures with that ammo when shooting it properly, guys. It was phenomenal. I can't tell you how excited I am to finally have a reliable magazine-fed shotgun. This thing is just simply incredible, guys. Now, I compared the recoil impulse of the Komrad 12, the Benelli M4, and the Gen 12 using the bioammo number 9 birdshot, which is the heaviest recoiling round that I brought with me today. And I have to say I was pretty surprised by the results. I think the Benelli M4 might have actually had the most recoil, possibly because of the longer barrel, but I also think it's the lightest shotgun I have with me today, so that could have been it as well. The recoil of the Komrad was a little bit lighter, and then the Gen 12 was about the same as the Komrad, give or take maybe 5 to 10%. It was very close. But the big advantage that the Gen 12 has over something like the Komrad is that it can run low brass reliably, which gives it inherently lower recoil potential if you're shooting low brass. Now, the manual of arms is far better than the Origin 12 and Komrad in my opinion, with last round bolt hold open, standard AR style controls, and magazines that insert just as easily as an AR, which makes rapid reloads actually viable unlike the Origin and the Komrad in my experience. I also really didn't like the location of the magazine and bolt release on the Origin really, but the Gen 12 was instantly familiar and effective because I have so much experience with ARs. And then to run the Komrad, you need to lock the bolt back with the safety lever, which is really finicky, and then rock and lock the magazines in, which I was actually really excited about initially, but it's not nearly as smooth as a standard AK, so it's not as fun as I wanted it to be. And because you need to lock the bolt back with the safety lever, it's really not possible to do speed reloads with the Komrad, unfortunately. But the Gen 12, by contrast, really just feels like a high-powered AR, guys. It feels so awesome to shoot this thing. It's tons of fun to run it fast, reload quickly, and just feel the power of the 12-gauge round with the superior AR-style manual of arms, guys. It is awesome. The handguard feels excellent to me, and the overall ergonomics of the gun are just fantastic. I'm actually pretty impressed that the BCM M-Lock grip is still rock solid with no movement or loosening at all. I'd heard that lights and lasers and other M-Lock accessories often loosen under fire with these rails, so I figured that a grip that you're putting a lot of pressure on might not fare too well, but so far there's no issues here at all, which is great to see. One thing I was actually bracing myself for with the Gen 12 was a lot of concussion from that 10.5-inch barrel, but I was actually pretty surprised to find that it really wasn't too bad at all. The blast diverting compensator really does a great job pushing the blast away from the user while helping mitigate muzzle rise. Now, I did speak with Genesis Arms and confirm that this is their latest design and they believe that it's their best yet, so that was really interesting to hear. I will say that I didn't have anyone here with me today, so I don't know how it might sound to bystanders, but I'd say it's definitely louder with a bigger boom and crack over the 18.5-inch Benelli M4, but from the shooter's perspective, I was very comfortable all day. I've heard the concussion and blast from the 7-inch barrel can be a lot for some people, but I also think that these new muzzle devices are helping quite a bit, especially on the 10.5-inch barrel I have here. Now, having an adjustable gas system to fine-tune your gun to your specific ammo or load is definitely a cool feature in guns like the Origin or Komrad or other Sega-style guns, but they're often pretty finicky, and the nature of a gas-operated system makes shooting light or mixed loads very difficult to achieve, especially in a short barrel. Even if it does work in theory, you may find that one load cycles perfectly and then a higher powered load cycles much more violently. Then if you adjust the gas system for that high powered load, then the lower powered rounds might no longer cycle. The beautiful thing about the simplicity of the short recoil system in the Gen 12 is that you really don't have to worry about any of that. It just works, and it doesn't seem to care what you put in it, it just runs. To demonstrate that, I ran a single magazine with 3 different loads, starting off with 3 rounds of low brass birdshot going 1180 feet per second, and then firing 3 rounds of double-op buckshot going 1300 925 feet per second, and then finally shooting a 1-ounce rifled slug at 50 yards going 1300 feet per second. The Gen 12 really didn't seem to care. It seemed to love it, honestly. It cycled every round with an appropriate amount of recoil and cycled reliably throughout. This hyperfire trigger is phenomenal, guys. It's honestly one of the best out-of-the-box triggers I've ever used. It's really impressive. I can definitely understand why these triggers are so popular. Now, I know I'm gushing a lot here, guys, but I'm going to take a step back for a moment and just say that the Gen 12 is pretty easy to shoot fast with a low brass birdshot and relatively quick back on target, but you still can't honestly defeat the laws of physics completely, as it's still shooting 12-gauge shotgun shells and still has quite a bit of punch under fire. But as I mentioned before, the fact that you can run low brass reliably means it has inherently lower recoil potential than the Origin and the Komrad, and since I like to shoot fast, that makes the Gen 12 way more fun for me personally. And honestly, once I got warmed up and started getting more comfortable with it, it was really fast back on target, guys. It's so much fun to shoot this thing. Now, supposedly the Rexilentium Seg 12 suppressor that works with the Gen 12 noticeably lowers the recoil impulse, while obviously also lowering the concussion and also doubling as a choke that will tighten the shot patterns at range. Now, that all sounds great to me, so I'll most likely be ordering one soon. Now, on top of that, I think a nice stock would improve the ergonomics and recoil as well, so I'll definitely be filing a Form 1 to turn this gun into an SBS very soon. I know it's probably pretty obvious by now, but I can't tell you how excited this makes me, guys. My quest for a reliable, fast, and fun magazine-fed semi-auto shotgun was a pretty frustrating one this year, but I'm very happy to say that my journey has ended in a resounding success with the Gen 12 from Genesis Arms. This gun is literally everything that I want in a semi-auto magazine-fed shotgun, and I'm so excited to shoot it again soon. Now, I know that this may come as a surprise to some people, as it definitely is for me, but if I'm being completely honest with you guys, there's no question in my mind that this gun is hands down my new favorite shotgun to shoot, guys, even above the incredible Benelli M4. Now, that being said, does that mean that the Gen 12 is better than the Benelli M4? No, I wouldn't necessarily say that. The Benelli M4 is a phenomenal service record and legendary reliability, and it's been tested and proven for decades now. The Gen 12, as incredible as it is still a very new platform, so I can't in good faith say that it's the new king and the best shotgun in the world, but for me personally, for a shotgun that I just want to blast at the range, hands down, no question in my mind, the Gen 12 is the first one I'm going to be reaching for. Now, of course, the big elephant in the room when comparing all these firearms is the price. The current cost of the Gen 12 is about the same as the Origin 12, and in my experience, the Gen 12 was exponentially more reliable and far less picky when it comes to ammo choice with no break-in needed. So in my opinion, I would very confidently recommend the Gen 12 over the Origin at this point. Now, comparing it to the Komrad, things do get a little bit tougher. You could literally buy 2 Komrads and extra magazines and ammo for the price of one Gen 12. It's an extremely expensive firearm, and for that reason, it's definitely not going to make sense for everyone. But for me personally, my primary use case is being able to reliably shoot reasonably priced low brass at the range for low recoil and fast follow-up shots with fast and clean reloads that really highlight the benefits of a magazine-fed semi-auto shotgun over a traditional tube-fed shotgun like a Benelli M4. And based on all that criteria, in my opinion, the Gen 12 checks all the boxes and is easily the most fun shotgun that I've ever shot, and I can't recommend it enough. So obviously, guys, I'm insanely excited about this. It's way better than I ever expected it to be. So I'm definitely filing the Form 1. I'm definitely getting the Seg 12 suppressor, and I'll be super excited to get it out again soon and give you guys updates as I go. So that's going to be all for today, guys. We got a lot more videos coming up soon, including more ARs, AKs, PCCs, handguns, and shotguns. Remember to like and subscribe, ring the bell, stay tuned, and thanks for stopping by.